Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and this is going to be my hopefully simple guide on how to beat Hades Quest rounds 11 through 15. So let's go ahead and jump right into round 11. So like I've been saying in my most recent videos, we are refraining from using Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A with extra attack because a lot of people might not have this medal with extra attack, and that's gauges they're not restoring, that is counts that are not going up, that is upright buffs and debuffs that you're going to have to be paying more attention to in order to do damage. So we're going to be refraining from using that Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A with extra attack. And really the strategy for defeating the Pot Centipede here, again, as simple as I hope it can possibly get, is going to be just using Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo, Defense Boost 5 Max, and then one Youth in White activation. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and then we will go through the general strategy. Alright, so when you hop into the quest and you attack the enemies, the first thing you notice is that there's that defense buff going off for them. So the Pot Centipede has 11 general defense, and then the Pot Spider has 5 general defense, which can easily be overwritten by Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A or HD Shion's Supernova attack, bringing them down to 15. Next, you're going to activate your Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo, and then tap with the Hades. We don't need it right now, but then we will activate the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A. That's to restore our gauges, and then later on restore our HP. And then activate one Youth in White. Tap here, and then we'll activate the friend Ultimate Form Sora, because at the very least, if you don't have your own Ultimate Form Sora, hopefully you have access to one from a friend. And there you go. We survived this first round. So just keep in mind though that the reason that turtling works is because the objective is complete without having to continue. So as long as you're not knocked out, you can take as many turns as you possibly want in order to clear this quest. One big thing that I think that is also worth mentioning is that the Pot Centipede, every other attack is going to have the ability to hit you with paralysis or poison, and that can be a big problem to this strategy, because if you're not hitting these medals off consistently, you could potentially be getting hurt really badly. So let's say if we got hit with poison right there and then didn't have something like the Asuna, the pet trait going off for us, or I'm sorry, the pet skill going off for us, we'd probably get knocked out right here. If we got hit with paralysis and then didn't get our Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A going off, we'd be missing out on gauge restoration and HP restoration. So just keep that in mind, that you'd have, I'd say, roughly about 3 to 4 turns in order to defeat the Pot Centipede with the turtling / defense strategy. So Kyrie A, again, we're just going to tap here, one activation of a Youth in White, and then Ultimate Form Sora. Again, the friend medal is hopefully something that you can get your hands on. Okay, so again, we just last there, not a problem. Pass here, Kyrie. Tap, 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 Youth in White for defense, but that'll actually knock it out because my Youth in White actually has ground enemy defense minus 60. So that's one way of getting around that 11th round with hopefully very, very, very simple of a setup, which doesn't require too much. Moving into round 12 of the Hades Cup, we've got the green gummy saucer as the main enemy here, and if we read the description, it does say you'll receive 10% of the damage you'll deal when using speed-based attacks against this flying foe. So that means things like Ultimate Form Sora, Blitz Form Sora, Guardian Form Sora, all those speed medals. If you hit this green gummy saucer with it, it's going to bounce 10% of that damage back to you, and likely if you're using something as strong as, again, like Ultimate Form Sora, it's going to knock you out. Keep in mind that while Ultimate Form Sora does ignore attribute, it does not bypass this reflection, so you'll still get hit with reflection damage if you're using Ultimate Form Sora. So there's two strategies that we're going to talk about when dealing with this green gummy saucer. So the first one is going to be just a straight up defensive strategy that we use similarly in round 11. So we start off with Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo as the staple defensive medal that gives us plus 15 general defense and gives the enemy minus 15 general strength. Then we have Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A. The point of this is to restore gauges as well as heal us between turns. Then we have a dual activation of the Youth in White that comes with that very peculiar minus target PSM strength 5. So you don't need extra attack on a Youth in White. You can easily just do a copy medal plus the Youth in White himself. And lastly, we'll need Defense Boost 5 Max. The point of Defense Boost 5 Max is, again, just to mitigate the damage that we're receiving so that we're able to survive between the turns. Because remember, the objective for this one, and I should have said this earlier, is actually to continue without having... complete without having to continue. That means you can take as many turns as you want as long as you don't get knocked out beyond the number of times you can revive yourself. So with things like second chance and HP recovery. So as long as you don't get knocked out, you can keep going until you finish the round. So let's go ahead and just show you how that defensive strategy works here. And let's grab something that doesn't affect counter. So for example, we can borrow this. This is fine. Alright, so let's hop in here and I'll show you how this defensive strategy all plays out. Keep in mind though, one thing as we hop in here, the Blitz Saber has the ability to paralyze you. So what I did is that I equipped medals that had paralysis resist 20%, all the way until I had paralysis resist 100%. So that's just something to note, that if the Blitz Saber hits you with paralysis, it can interrupt your defensive setup by making you skip over medals that you'll probably need. So if it skips over the Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo, we're missing out on that general defense. If it skips over the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A, we're not getting those gauges back and we're not restoring our HP. So that's why I had medals that had paralysis resist 20% on them, so that it would total out to roughly 100%. So let's go ahead and show you this defensive setup in action. So keep in mind that the enemy does start out with plus 12 general defense on the Blitz Saber and plus 12 PSM defense on the Gummy over there. So we're not going to override it with Kyrie first, because if we did that, then our Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo, which counts as a speed medal, would actually hurt us. So let's go ahead and activate the Ienzo first, then activate the Kyrie, and then activate the rest of our setup. And this should actually just play itself out. So essentially you just let this setup keep running itself until the enemies are gone. So if we look here, we're going to get attacked, but we continue to live. Again, the Blitz Saber can paralyze you, so if it does, it can interrupt your defensive strategy. But it didn't that time, so we are good. So then we just keep pummeling it. Again, we can take as many turns as we need, as long as we don't get paralyzed and something gets skipped, or as long as we're able to just keep using like our defensive medals. And it just plays itself out. So hopefully this is an easy moon gem for people if you're able to replicate this type of strategy. And we just keep playing it out, and there you go. One enemy down, and we got one enemy left. I don't know why we haven't been using turtling. Maybe it's because it's just not as viable as a strategy nowadays, but it does work for us in this case, so that's good. That's what we need to know. Does it work for us now? Alright, there you go. So that is how you turtle your way through round 12. There is another strategy that we are going to talk about, and it does revolve around what I believe is the most meta strategy right now of recovery buffing. So let's go ahead and switch to our other setup that is strictly supposed to be used for recovery buffing. Alright, so this is the setup that we're going to be using. We have a Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A, just one without the extra attack, that has second chance on it. Again, this is to revive us, because the number of times you can revive, the greater your recovery buffing can get. So Kyrie A used for HP restoration, gauge restoration, also has second chance 4. That's pretty necessary for recovery buffing. We have the Key Art Sky, which is just a copy medal that I'm using to copy the Kyrie, so that we're able to restore our gauges. We have Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie B, again, just to show how this recovery buffing method works, because it requires that we have a medal that gives medal strength plus, and in that case, this is what the Kyrie B is for. It can be used with Kingdom Hearts 3 Terra, gives you power strength up. It can be used with, this strategy can be used with Supernova Plus Era, which gives you upright strength. So just keep that in mind. The point of this Kyrie is to show you how recovering buffing works. Then we have the Kingdom Hearts 3 Buzz Lightyear, this Angelic Amber, and the Roxas here. The point of these medals is to be doing damage to the enemy and at the same time decreasing the counter of that green gummy saucer that we saw earlier. So let's go ahead and hop in here with this medal and give it a spin. So this might not be able to knock out the enemy, but the point is to show you the strategy. So we'll go here. We will overwrite those buffs, because again, they start with defensive buffs. And then we're going to heal our gauges here. We're going to give ourselves some upright metal strength here. And then we're going to activate the Kyrie B. That gives us plus 5,000 metal strength. And what we're going to be doing here, so we have to pay attention to the blue counter, because again, we have to get that blue counter down to 0 before the end of our own turn. Otherwise, we lose all our buffs. So let's go ahead. In this case, I have a Kingdom Hearts 3 Buzz Lightyear, which deals 11 hits. I have it with extra attack, so that's going to decrease it by 22. So let's go ahead and do that. And we will use it again here. Oh, wait. I think I made a mistake, and that's the one that only has, that doesn't have extra attack on it. But that's okay, because we should be able to decrease that enemy count down to 0, because Kingdom Hearts 3 Roxas does 5 hits. 5 hits that affect counter, so this should be okay. There we go. And then we get knocked out, but we do recover with the plus 6,000 upright metal strength that we had before. So at this point, all you gotta do is just run over the enemy. There you go. And that's the recovery buffing method way of dealing with round number 12. So again, we have a defensive strategy, and then we have a recovery buffing strategy in order to deal with those pesky foes there. Moving on to the 13th round of the Hades Cup, we've got the Shred Ghost, and if we read the description, it says, this spooky specter absorbs attacks from speed metals and lowers your reverse strength. So a few things to note here is that if you want to be using metals like Supernova plus Gula, like Blitz Form Sora, Guardian Form Sora, Kingdom Hearts 3 Ventus, the enemy will actually absorb the damage from those attacks, recovering its HP, and that is definitely something you want to avoid as much as possible. But keep in mind that while Ultimate Form Sora was not able to bypass the reflection from the round 12, it will be able to bypass this HP absorption on this enemy. So that's going to be important when we talk about our second setup. But let's go ahead and do a run with our defensive setup. So these are the parts here. First of all, we start off with Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo. It's important to have him go first because, again, any speed damage that the enemy takes is going to be restored as HP. So we want to activate this before having buffs go off, and then if buffs went off, Ienzo would be restoring the enemy's HP. So just make sure you have Ienzo first, and it's going to give that plus 15 general defense to us and give the enemy minus 8 general strength, which is just super important for a defensive setup. We follow that up with Kingdom Hearts 3 Hades, and the big part about Hades is that he has stackable target strength minus 5. So unlike Ienzo, who overwrites it and makes it minus 8 no matter when he's activated, Hades will be able to decrease that by 5 more and then bring it down to 13. So that's why Hades is there. We have our Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A, again, to restore our gauges, restore our health, and it also has DB5 max, Defense Boost 5 max, in order to mitigate as much damage as possible. The point of HD Sora and Kyrie EX here is to make sure that the gauges for the enemy, or the hit counter, does not drop to 0. So doing a defensive setup, we're going to have to activate Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo every single turn. And Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo does still affect enemy counter. So the whole point of the Sora and Kyrie here is to bring that counter back up. So it doesn't have to be Sora and Kyrie EX. As long as it's something that's able to bring the enemy's counter back up after the Ienzo, you should be good. So that's what this medal is here for. Then we have a dual cast of the Youth in White. And again, the whole point of that is to give the enemy minus 10 PSM strength. Lastly, we're going to wrap it up here and actually just use a shared Kyrie medal because this setup requires quite a bit of gauges for me. So if you're able to get away with lower gauge costs, if you have an SP skill on your Youth in White, maybe you can get away with it even more. So the only reason for the Kyrie is that we need to keep restoring our gauges. But in terms of a defensive setup, this is what I am able to think up. Let's go ahead and hop in here and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So we just let this run. This setup actually just plays itself. So we don't have much to worry about here. and we just let it keep running. So I'm probably going to cut this off a little bit towards the middle because at this rate, it's going to take a long time. And remember that the objective for this one is to complete without having to continue, so we can take as many turns as we want. So really, as long as our defense checks out, we won't even have to be thinking twice. So this all just runs, and really, once you get a defensive setup that is able to just play itself turn after turn, you can go and like make yourself a sandwich or make yourself lunch or something, or go do something else while this all just plays out. But at the rate that we're attacking this thing, it's going to be taking forever. So the whole point was just for me to show you how a defensive strategy works and that it does actually exist. So we just keep surviving the attacks with our defensive setups, and we'll do this for one more round just so I can really show you that we're able to turtle our way through this, and then we'll switch to the offensive setup. Alright, so there you go. I proved that we can use a defensive setup, and it is decreasing the enemy's HP slowly but surely, but we are going to go ahead and just skip all of that. Alright, so moving on to the offensive setup, which actually just plays off recovery buffing. So remember that as long as you're knocked out before your turn ends, you keep all the buffs from the previous turn. And then bouncing off of what I said a little bit earlier, Ultimate Form Sora is able to bypass that speed HP recovery that the Shred Ghost has, so we are able to use it here. So let's go ahead and use this as our setup. The whole point of the Stained Glass at the beginning is to really just overwrite the enemy's defenses and then restore our gauges. So let's hop in here. And this is going to affect the count. Or no, this one doesn't affect the count. Sorry about that. But we just activate our stuff here. Just keep on activating stuff. Alright, now this is where it gets tricky because whatever you do, you have to make sure you're able to get one of these counts down to 0. So in my case, I just used a Kingdom Hearts 3 Buzz Lightyear that gives minus 11 to the counter because Buzz does 11 hits and they all count towards the counter. So I'm able to use a Buzz with extra attack in order to decrease that enemy's counter. You can really use anything as long as it's a medal or a set of medals that's able to decrease the counter down to 0. So there we go. We get knocked out, but again, we retain all our upright metal strength buff that we got from the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie B as well as Ultimate Form Sora. Let's go ahead and restore some gauges and just do it all over again. And if you have Kyrie B, you can actually just activate this guy and just make it that much easier on yourself. So with recovery buffing, you get actually stronger every single turn. So our medals are actually doing more damage than they did previously. So we'll activate the Buzz, again bringing that counter down to 0. And then we get knocked out. And then we just do it all over again, except this time we're even stronger than what we were at earlier. So look at that. Now we are at plus 17,000 upright metal strength. And that should be enough to take these guys. There you go. So that's a way of using recovery buffing again in order to get to the end of round 13. Unfortunately, not too spectacular rewards for completing round 13. It's going to be 12, 14, and 15. But those are just two alternative ways you can use to get past round 13. So the defensive strategy as well as the recovery buffing strategy. Moving into round 14 of the Hades Cup, we've got the Reverse Defender. So the Reverse Defender is going to absorb any damage from reverse metals and then convert it to its own HP. So that means no reverse metals on this one, and it is actually accompanied by a green gummy saucer. So keep that in mind that any speed metal damage that you try to give is going to be reflected at 10% back to you, and that does include Ultimate Form Sora. So the setup that we're going to be using here is mainly just a recovery buffing one, where we focus mainly on increasing our buffs and then trying to take out the enemy at the same time. So let's go ahead. This is the setup we're going to use. It's pretty much the same setup that we used for the saucer in the round 12. So let's go ahead and go here. Let's grab this Kingdom Hearts 3 Roxas, and then let's go ahead and enter this fight. So let's go ahead and overwrite that buff. So the enemy starts out with plus 15 plus 15 upright buff, defense buff. So let's go ahead and overwrite that. Let's go ahead and start attacking. And then let's give ourselves plus 5,000 from the Kyrie. Again, it doesn't have to be Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie B. It could be Kingdom Hearts 3 Terra. It could be Supernova plus Aced. It could be Supernova plus Era. It could be any of those, and that would still be fine with this strategy. So right now, we've got 22 counters to deal with on this saucer. And then we'll do one there. Go ahead, attack with the Roxas. Another Roxas activation. And then another one, and this is going to trigger the counter from the saucer, and that's going to knock us out. But we revive with, again, the plus 6,000 strength that we got from the Kyrie B the last turn. And then we just do it all over again. I have to be selective, though, about this Buzz, because by default, it automatically targets the main enemy. So let's go ahead and do that. And then activate the Roxases again. And get knocked out. Revive with second chance. So we do have to finish them this turn. That's the big thing, is that when you use recovery buffing, you only get at most 3 turns to defeat the enemy. So let's go ahead and activate those. We will activate the Buzz, but because it's our last turn, we are going to target the defender there. And then let's actually activate a few Supernova attacks to make sure that our damage is going through. And there you go. So that's how you can use recovery buffing to get past round number 14 in the Hades Cup, and hopefully this gets you that second Moon Gem. Moving on into the final round of the Hades Cup, we are fighting an upright defender, which is able to absorb any damage from upright metals, but that does not include Ultimate Form Sora, which is why we are going to be using Ultimate Form Sora as the main damage dealer in our setup. We are also going to be having this illustrated Ansem, and actually the whole point of this is actually just to deal with counters. So illustrated Ansem hits for 13 hits with extra attack, that's going to be 26. And if that wasn't a dead giveaway, we are going to be using the recovery buffing method in order to deal with this quest here. So let's go ahead and hop right in and just show you how it all plays out. So because both of these enemies have blue counters, again, as long as the metal affects enemy count, you are able to bring down that counter very easily with metals that do multiple hits. And that is why that illustrated Ansem is in that last slot there. Last slot. So let's go ahead and just show you how it all plays out. Activate the Kyrie B. Again, this doesn't need to be Kyrie B. It could be something like Supernova plus Gula if you're using Ultimate Form Sora. It could be something like Supernova plus Aced if you're using a power setup. So the whole point is just to illustrate that recovery buffing is the method we're going to be using. So let's go ahead and activate the Sora. Again, it bypasses the enemy reflection. And then let's go ahead and bring down the count of this enemy here. So that's going to knock us out. We come back with HP recovery, and we keep all the buffs that we stacked from the previous turn. So now we instantly start off with 10,500 upright metal strength increase. And it's just going to keep climbing higher. So every turn we're essentially getting stronger is the point of recovery buffing. It's like Super Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z. You just keep getting stronger every time you take them out. And then you have to make sure you finish it on the last turn, because that's our second chance. That is the last recovery we have. So at this point, we're going to be just trying to pump out as much damage as possible. And there you go. So that is how you 2,000 or 20,000 upright metal strength by the end of it. So that's how you can use recovery buffing in order to get past that last one, and hopefully that nets you the 5,000 jewels for completing this round. So that is my hopefully not super confusing way of getting through all the Hades Cup rounds with some alternative strategies. Hopefully this helps you pass. Hopefully it helps you get those moon gems, and I hope that you're able to get those 5,000 jewels by the end of it all. But with that being said, that is the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. But as always, everyone, until next time, take it easy.